Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff is alongside me. It's like old times, Roughie. 14th year together. Do you remember we started this darn programme off, just me and you?
I was going to say there's one noticeable bit of the show is it's a wee bit more professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the benefit of anyone who, some people listen on the podcast alone, just the audio, Roughie, and they won't see you resplendent in your shorts with your legs looking tanned. And then, of course, it's only a matter of time before the big long johns come out and it starts to go cold again. But happy days, actually, in our old studio, because if you cracked a joke, the studio that we put together all decided to shake.
Yeah, I think some of the people who watched it and listened to it way back then would that screen. I mean, I don't know who came up with the idea, though, the wee figurines in the back and the painting and everything. It was quite funny, but it was when it moved and we had our favourite and then our journalist who gave us a wee song.
Yeah, who was that?
It was boys down in England now.
Of course, now Thomas Jordan gave us a wee song from his school days. I mean, when you think about it, the madness that we used to get away with then, we phoned everybody and anybody, didn't we?
Yeah, it was good. It was interesting that a lot of footballers have a dark secret that they want to bring out, like bring their guitar in and have a song.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still playing for Ross County now. So, of course. I think he started at Morton and gave us a song when he was a young kid, and then he moved up to, I think he'd look back with embarrassment now. Listen, talking of young kids, tenuous link to get to Lennon Miller, but nevertheless, we're there. We've got lots to talk about in the show today. Lennon Miller to Udinese, £4.5 million is good money for Motherwell, Roughie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the money they got for Turnbull was a lifesaver. I think Motherwell were going through the fan-owned programme, you know, so that money helped to invest the academy. I think Motherwell have been very good with their academy, the players that have come through. And the good thing about it is most of the players that come through the academy, the managers are in charge, aren't frightened to give them a game.
Yeah.
You know, they put them in, and that's what happens when you do that and you get a really good one, you get a lot of money.
Yeah, I think Motherwell, though, this is not a lifesaver. I think this is one of those life changers in essence, because for the next 4 to 5 years, Motherwell can use that money wisely. They can, I mean, I know from the David Turnbull, they gave incentives to the season ticket holders who showed them great support through COVID. They also, as well as the incentives for season tickets, they also were able to buy other players, make improvements to the stadium. This one, I think, just gives them that long-term, maybe 4 or 5 year stability where they can recruit and invest in younger players again, Roughie.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, obviously you've got to strengthen your first team. I think at this moment in time, everybody's talking about the Motherwell strike force, so that gives the manager a wee bit more in his budget to go out there. But any supporters love their young players coming through academy. Somebody that, I mean, if you really look in depth at it, a lot of these kids are there at 10 years of age, you know, and they're there for a long time, and they're showing a lot of loyalty to the clubs, and then they get the benefit in the first team, and then the club get the benefit of looking after them and just taking care of them. So, no, it's very good to see that.
Can I just ask you on that basis, Lennon Miller himself, how good a player is he and how good a player could he become? Certainly could be the real future in the middle of the park for Scotland.
Well, certainly we saw a lot of our good young Scottish players going abroad, you know, and I think that's been a large factor in Miller. You know, I think he's obviously been advised by his dad and obviously his agent. They've looked at the success of these players abroad. I'm not just talking about McTominay and Gilmer. The other boys, the Doigs and all that, have went away just early parts of their career, and they've taken the chance to go away there. And I can't off the top of my head remember anyone that's been a failure that's went abroad and tried it.
Yeah, it's a good point, Roughie. I was just looking at Udinese as far as where they finished, and it was 12th in the table, behind the likes of Torino, Como, Bologna, Milan, Lazio, Fiorentina, Rome, Juventus, Atalanta and Inter. So mid-table, chance to just supplement their squad with good young emerging talent. Seems to be a thing now in Italy. Before I get to the players who played there, Lennon Miller himself, we always say that if a player can get 50 to 100 or 150 games here domestically in Scotland, it's good going. It gives them a good grounding. It gives them that experience of playing against men, of playing in high pressure games, of dealing with all the things that can come your way as far as competition is concerned, and the intensity of top flight football. He had 77 games for Motherwell with 2 goals.
Yeah, but I think he more than that, he had a lot of assists. I think he became a focal part of that team, a mainstay. I mean, we always talk about playmakers, guys in the middle who make things work. I think he was that kind of player. He did score some cracking goals, there's no doubt about that. But I think anybody we've had in this show, whether it's been a manager, a player that's came in contact with him, has said he's definitely got it. And that says a lot when everybody comes in and talks very highly of him.
I know it's a little bit selfish when you think about it. We sometimes like to see our good Scottish talent stay in the game here for as long as possible so we can see them. But you look at it and you say, you know, you want Lennon Miller, like so many others, like your Billy Gilmores, like your Scott McTominays, you want them to join clubs where they can really go through a huge learning curve and enhance their own capabilities that will benefit Scotland in the long run. And with that in mind, I'm glad now that his next choice wasn't staying in Scotland. I'm glad he decided to go somewhere where he'll get a sample of European life, their culture, you know, the environment, new friends, a new language, and a style of play that is possibly, I'm not going to fall into lazy journalism with, Italy and Italian football and Serie A's all catenaccio defensive. It is not, you know, but he'll get a different style.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I think a lot of the players that come here from other countries, the first thing they say is it's more physical than where I came from. They're playing more football here than what we are, all that kind of stuff. So, but I think he'll go there and mixing with, as you say, a different culture, but a different style of play. You know, and they've obviously looked at him, they've assessed his strengths and weaknesses, and they've really assessed that his style of play is going to suit their team, the way they play. They wouldn't have bought him if they didn't think he had the ability to fix in there.
And I think the other good thing about it, we've got to pay tribute to him, Lee Miller, his dad, will have had a massive influence on him because he would have been able to say to him, okay, keep your feet in the ground, it's early stages. Here's little things that he might have offered him as advice, a footballer, on having to deal with things on a day-to-day basis. He would also have said, you know, listen, beware of agents, beware of people who try and befriend you when you're making your mark at Motherwell. You know, he seems to be, you know, certainly from my knowledge of him, a close-knit family boy. His family are at the heart of everything that he is involved in. So from that point of view, his dad would have given him great advice on that, as well as the ultimate advice, his son, I think this is the perfect club for you to go and develop.
Yeah, and I think you've also got to bring into the equation, and I'm not having a go at Rangers or Celtic here. He would know what, like, if he went to either one of these two, what it's involved, you know, the commitment, you know, everything that goes along with it, and then he's got to assess, will I get a game? You know, if you're looking at Celtic's midfield, you're looking at the players they've got, they're buying £11 million players, you know, he's got to assess, would I get, if I went there, I'm sure it would have been debated because I think Celtic were interested. You know, would I go there and my career would stumble for a year or two? I wouldn't get regular football. So I think the environment as well, getting into another country and learning more about their lifestyle than here, because he's been here a long while, I think it will benefit him.
And as an observation on his move to Udinese, I believe Lennon Miller 100%. I think you're right. I think he might have been used sparingly if he'd signed for Celtic, and probably he would still get double figures appearances, but maybe not as much game time as he would have liked, certainly not the 90 minutes. But I think he would have walked into the Rangers team, and that's a sad indictment on where Rangers are, because I think he would have been a definite starter every week for them.
Yeah, at this moment in time, yeah, I would say that. As I touched on Celtic there, like they have 5 quality midfielders in there, 3 playing and 3 sitting on the bench. I don't think Rangers have got that strength and depth in the midfield area. Again, would we want to go into a Rangers team that's in transition? You know, and we've seen what if they're not playing particularly well, there's a lot of sort of a criticism flying about. So you don't want that to be put on such a young shoulder. I just think going away and experience different culture away from home, different style of play, it's something you can always come back to.
Yeah. Was there a wee chance of that younger in life for you? It shows you must have been really envious, sometimes in later life, Roughie, when you looked at the players, the opportunities they had. I know we joke about the fact that you went to Orlando to play football in the latter part of your career, but you still got a late sample of two things, I think, in life, which is one, you got a chance to play for Celtic, which was a top flight club and totally different, maybe, from the way things were organised at Partick Thistle and Hibs. That's one little flavour you got. But then going away to another country and seeing, in the time you were there, they were very much in their embryonic stage of...
Yeah, they were giving it another bash. It hadn't worked the first time with the likes of George Best and all these Pellies and all that going. I think they'd spent a lot of money and never got the attendance. But when we went there, they changed it to, it was 3 foreigners, 3 home-based players, and the structure was good. But they were still building on it.
Just play 6?
No, the rest of the boys were obviously locals. Then, but
so more than 3 home-based
more than
players.
3, and it was good. But you were saying that it was different because there wasn't the same pressure.
Yeah.
The only pressure that in that time was the owners had, like they have in the American football, was a waiver. A waiver means they could walk into the dressing room and just say, right, that's you, finished, gone.
You're joking me.
Yeah, no contracts.
Did you see that happen?
Yeah, it sort of happened a couple of ago. We signed a couple of boys for the New York team, and it just didn't fit. And the owner just come in and used that waiver rule that they left.
Yeah, and I don't think, knowing you as I do, anything really phases you. But certainly, when you consider the pressure, you weren't under any real pressure. No. Considering your first kick out of the ball.
Yeah.
Got a great reaction from the
fans. I'll never forget that. That was a Friday night. It was my first game, it was a Friday night. We were playing, I think it was Tampa Bay Rowdies, and obviously being in Orlando, there was a lot of people on holiday who'd seen a football game come along. And I remember saying to the boy, when the centre's taken, just pass it back to me, just to get a feel of the ball because of the altitude and everything. Yeah. And I got the ball in my hands and I just launched it as you did. Yeah. And the ball was so light, the ball went into the first bounce was on the 18-yard line in the opposition. And all I could hear was everybody going, "You're the man! You're the man!" And I was like, my first thought was Peter McCloy would have been magnificent out here.
Peter McCloy, I remember. It's funny you should say that, by the way, because Peter McCloy's kick out in the 1972 European Cup Winners' Cup final, I think it goes all the way through near enough to Willie Johnson, who scores for Rangers.
Yeah, it was. There's no build up for the back then. It was just to launch it and see who could go in the Indian.
Brilliant. Listen, with that in mind, Roughie, I thought I'd test your knowledge on this, because there's been more than a few Scots that have actually... I'm going to sneak it round a bit. I know your eyesight isn't the best anyway, but can you... I am led to believe there are 11, possibly 12 Scots. There's one that I researched, and I'm not sure if it's a wind-up or not, but I certainly will go back over it and look at it, but I'm going to mention him anyway. There was one Scot who apparently played in the early 20th century in Italy. He was born in Falkirk, apparently, right? And his name was Giovanni Johnny Mascardini, right?
It's a big Falkirk name, that.
It's a big Falkirk name, right? And he apparently played for Lucchese, Pisa and Genoa in the early 20th century. Wow. I'm going to look into him, by the way, because I think that's well worth it to see if that is actually somebody. I cross-referenced it with 2, but you know that way, as a journalist, you've got to try and cross-reference as many things as possible to bring it together. So I'm a wee bit wary of the fact that I still have got to find out more about Giovanni.
What year is this?
Oh, it was early 20th century, so it must have been maybe 1920s, even 1910. I'm going to research it.
It could have been he was over there during the First World War or something, and he'd stayed there, because a lot of the guys in the Second World War were based in other countries, wherever they were, and they played for teams in that area.
Oh, Roughie, honestly, see that kind of insight, There are people out there that just think you're a joker, and then suddenly you come out with something like that,
which you have to back up.
Which is totally inaccurate. And it leads me to the time we were on a show. I'll never forget it, on STV. It was a Saturday factual show, and just as we're about to go to the break, you, for the first time ever, fired out about 6 statistics that were so mind-blowing. And I thought, now here's a guy, now I'm doing you a disservice, right? But here's a guy with no preparation whatsoever who's suddenly just given us 6 statistics out of nowhere. And I thought, and you said it with such conviction. And I looked and I thought to myself, you know, Roughie's never done that before, which leads me to believe that he's talking a lot of mince. And by the time I came out of the break, not one of your stats was accurate. So I thought, I'm not going to fall into that trap. So Giovanni, he might be in the war. It's a good shout, though.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the guys at the Rangers and Celtic during the Second World War, wherever they were based, you know, they took part, obviously, in football. In fact, here's another stat. That
That's not
the army used to have a football team of big players that never actually took part in the fighting. They travelled about all the bases and as a football team.
Now, I think Sir Matt Busby was in that.
Yeah, and I think there were some Rangers and Celtic players as well.
Yeah, I think there were some very, very famous.
They weren't commissioned to go at the front. They were commissioned to entertain the
I think
troops.
there were some very. I will research that, Roughie, for one of our next podcasts. But I think there were some very famous English players who ended up playing with great Scottish players in an army side. There's definitely a story for that. That's one that I think you deserve tremendous credit for, as well as many, many others, I have to say to you. But I do like the ones where you're so wildly out of sight with anything.
You can imagine what my grandchildren are, because the other day we were in the garden and there was the wee ones fascinated with spiders.
Yes.
And she goes, spider, spider. And I said, oh, that's a Blanophia. So, of course, she'd been out running about telling our pals what that spider is. So I had to say, no, I'm only making that up.
Yeah, which leads me to, and I've got to tell this story because it just sums it up. We do love him, but he was mental at times on the show, Gordon Smith. And I'll never forget this day when he was on the show, and Gordon, he loved to fire out stories. I mean, he honestly, I thought he invented the wheel at one point in his life, right? But he basically, St Mirren had a bus full of Germans coming over. They couldn't make it. The game got called off. There was a real feeling of, these Germans have come all that way. And you come out with the classic line, yes.
He said, that must be a terrible thing to happen to all that travelling. And I'm sure it must have been quite a way. And I said, yeah, that for the twin town Uftenblasen.
Yes, which does sound German. It does sound German.
And Gordon's reaction was, oh, yes, a very nice town.
Yeah, Uftenblasen. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, that was classic. And the amount of times you used to wind him up was unbelievable. And it was possibly the first time I found out your middle name was Roderick.
Yes.
Do you remember
my grandfather, yeah.
Do you remember what Gordon's middle name was?
Oh, it's like a girdly name, isn't it? Is it not a girdly name?
No, it's almost like an army name.
Okay.
Duffield, do you remember?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so there you are. Okay.
That's another show.
Yes, that's
Footballers' middle names.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one, isn't it? Football. Yeah, we'll look into that. I'll look into Giovanni as well. The players that played in Serie A, Roughie, can you name them?
Right. Scottish players?
Yes.
Okay. Graham Souness.
Yep.
Dennis Law.
2.
Joe Jordan.
3.
Not the present ones. Are we counting McTominays and Gilmers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, that's
McTominay, Gilmer,
right.
Doig.
Yep.
Who else? Did I say Dennis Law?
You did. The others I think you might toil with.
Go on, where did they come from? What teams did they come from?
Well, one of them came from Aberdeen.
No.
What? He came from Aberdeen?
He came from Aberdeen once, no.
His dad and his uncle played for Rangers. Are you kidding me?
Ferguson.
Oh, it's Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Right. The other one was an integral part of the Hibs side that won the Cup in 2016.
You fullback?
No, the midfielder who crossed it for David Gray to score.
No.
Played for Celtic at one point.
Up front?
Midfield.
Was he a midfield? Liam Miller. Henderson.
Liam Henderson. Right. You've
Where's
got Josh Doig. Liam Henderson's still in Serie A.
One of the B League or something.
I think they've been promoted. Josh Doig you got. Did you get Aaron Hickey?
No.
Aaron Hickey's the other one. Billy Gilmore, Scott McTominay. And there's one more who's a Scottish centre forward who plays in the international side.
Oh, the boy up front.
Yeah,
The boy were dying for him to score goals.
Yes. Shea Adams.
Shea Adams.
So there you are. It's not a bad shout, actually. I just think it's fantastic. Roughie, I'm going to go on to something. We've got lots of things that I'd like to ram into the show to get your thoughts and get the thoughts of everyone else. Can I just say, with the Italian football in mind, of course, every football show, Monday to Friday, is absolutely free. If you want additional content, exclusive content, prize giveaways, competitions aplenty, there's a lot on offer in our premium service, PLZ Premium, and Kerry will now tell you how you can get involved.
Subscribe to PLZ Premium today and you will be in our prize draw to win this fabulous Scott McTominay replica Napoli shirt. PLZ Premium is offering additional content from your favourite football channel. Subscribe to PLZ Premium today and you'll be in with a chance of winning this fabulous football shirt.
Brilliant. What a prize that is. Fantastic, Roughie, isn't it?
It is, as I said, I was in Naples during the holidays there, and you wouldn't imagine how much a hero is. Most of the Italian apartments and everything had flags out with McTominay on the pictures, and right, every lamppost had a Gilmore or a McTominay.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the one thing that the Italians do very well, and I'll tell you, there's another city that does it very well, and I really would love to see it adopted in Glasgow, if only for the fact it would be a great promotion. But the reason why it doesn't happen in Glasgow is because we have, how can I put it, quite a few, let me not beat about the bush, we've got quite a few morons that would just defecate the thing. But I like the murals on the walls. I love to see Diego Maradona. You know, people have said McTominay's on a few walls as well. But there's one other city that does it really well in this country, in the UK.
Liverpool.
Yes, Liverpool. It's just fantastic because, in effect, Roughie, some of the housing estates are literally tourist traps on their own, aren't they? Because you see Ian Rush, you see Kenny Dalglish, you see Robbie Fowler, you can see Virgil van Dijk, you see a tribute to Diogo Jota. It is fabulous, and I would love to see areas of Glasgow with classic legendary Celtic and Rangers players. It would be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but even when you move about Glasgow, you know, you see these murals, they just turn up. They weren't there maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's a couple in Glasgow. There's one with a chap with a bird in his hand. It takes up the whole tenement.
Yes.
And the thing when you're talking
That's
about...
going down towards the Tron.
You're talking about in Liverpool. I mean, and the sightseeing in Glasgow just now is the hop on, hop off bus.
Yes.
Now, that could be taken on a route through the places that you're talking about.
That'd be
You
fabulous.
know, Govan could have their bits, and obviously over at Parkhead have theirs.
Underneath the bridge is the Commonwealth Games painting.
Yeah, there's one, a swimmer. Yeah,
the swimmer. You're right about the one with the bird. And there are so many others that have popped up. But I just, for the nation, for a big mural of Kenny Dalglish and a Scotland top would be awesome. For the rest of Celtic and Rangers players, and equally so for me in Edinburgh and Dundee. If I could drive down a street in Dundee and turn around and see a huge one of Paul Sturrock, it would be brilliant. You know?
Yeah, it would. We've actually got one at Partick Thistle. We've got Dave McParlin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave McParlin Way, and it is a big focal point of the supporters to go and get the photo beside.
Right, let me get your thoughts on this, by the way. Can Hearts finish second? I think they're definitely going to finish minimum third.
Yeah, I think third. I think it's a long season to keep the consistency up. I think we've got a good idea. I don't think Rangers or Celtic. Celtic have played Aberdeen, which are not particularly firing all cylinders. But I think when we get a Hibs, Hearts playing Rangers and Celtic, we can maybe look into these games and see how much progress there is. And is there some kind of challenge? I don't think for the whole season, but it'd be good if they could do it at home.
Oh, Roughie, I think they're going to take a scalp or two this season. I'm even in early days, and I know he'll want to bring in maybe 1 or 2 other players if he can. But I looked at them and I'm saying to myself, he's got options on the left back. He possibly might need to go and get another attacking right back because he doesn't have enough cover. 2 central defenders, good. I like Stuart Finlay anyway. I think he does a really good job. Scored a couple of goals, which is unusual for him. But the middle of the park, I like the role that he's given Devlin. It's a kind of a Callum McGregor role, but the difference between him and Callum McGregor, and I think just so I can quantify this, I think Callum McGregor is the best midfielder in Scotland for the last 5 years, without any competition. No, I don't think anybody's come near him. He's brilliant. But I think the difference between him and Devlin's got a wee nasty streak in him. And you know I like a nasty streak.
Yeah, well, you look at all the midfield players who've got that nasty streak in them. They've also got a bit of ability as well.
Oh, he's got that.
And I mean, you touched on Callum McGregor there. I think the first thing the opposition managers would be saying coming up against Celtic would be stop Callum McGregor.
Yeah.
Stop Callum McGregor and you're stopping a lot of the Celtic good play.
The other thing about them, which I thought was really good, is they were able to get that ball into the box. I think there was a lot of times where they were able to get that ball in. Shankland's a threat, but if they've got other strikers that can provide a threat, getting goals is the key to this whole thing. But I was excited by them. If that's the best game I've seen in a long while, I mean, the ultimate best game I've seen in the last 5 years involving a Scottish club, there's been 2 or 3 that have really impressed me. I think Rangers beating Dortmund away was absolutely a great lesson in how to hit a team in a counter-attack. The best football I've seen played is Celtic in the Allianz Arena with Brendan Rodgers' side last year. I just thought that was absolutely unbelievable to see a Celtic side at times pass them, and play a European-style football, and almost within a whisker of, taking it to extra time, and then who knows what could have happened. And then domestically, I thoroughly enjoyed this game because it was do you remember those things you used to get for your Christmas? It was like 2 robot boxers, and one was red and one was blue, and you pushed the button, and the 2 of them just scalped each other in the face. And then if you got a really good connection, the boxer's head pointed up. That's the only way, Roughie, I can describe that game in Sunday at Paradise.
Yeah, but that's what we want to see. We hate seeing that. We hate hearing that saying sitting in and spoiling the game and then trying to nick it at the end. So if 2 teams like that are going to have a go at each other, it'll be an exciting season.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, Hearts nearly dropped 2 points. And Hibs did drop 2 points. So they're better than what they were last year, but they've still got to get that consistency.
Yeah, just a good prophet of doom, you aren't you? Just when I was getting excited there about that game.
No, I think
absolutely brilliant. I actually thought Hearts were going to win. I thought Hearts were going to win before it, and the game you just felt as if the goal's coming. The boy Braga they've got at number 10, Roughie, he's got a good bit of skill.
Yeah, they're all raving about him already.
Yeah, okay. Just before we go, Roughie, I thought it was only right and proper to pay a little tribute to John Fallon, who was buried this week. Celtic players turning out, a lot of people connected with Celtic there will have great memories. If you're of a certain generation, John Fallon. John Fallon, for me, while maybe his greatest moment would have been playing in the Bernabeu for Celtic against Real Madrid, maybe didn't get the chance to play in the final because of the rules at the time. Goalkeeper especially, he wouldn't have got on unless Ronnie Simpson's injured. But the rules at the time was substitutes didn't feature, as you well know. But he was one of those keepers, if he was playing today in the modern game, we would have got to move quite quickly.
Yeah, I don't think people realise that he did play a lot of games for Celtic.
Yes.
Everybody talks about Ronnie Simpson, but John played a lot of games. He was a regular in the Celtic team, won a right few leagues, a right few cups, and it was good that you could maybe remind me, there was a bit of he didn't get a medal, didn't he not? On the day, and the Celtic had to fight for it to get the medal. I know he did get it eventually, but any time I met him, you could imagine, being part of that squad and part of that success, and being the only one that never got a medal. It must have hurt for a long time, but obviously that was rectified.
I thought it was a great touch by the club. That's the type of thing that Celtic and many other clubs do. They're at their best when they really push the boat out for something that means so much to someone, and it meant a lot to John.
Oh, it certainly did. Obviously disappointing no playing in the final would have been something, excuse me, he had to have dealt with, but he was part of it. Anytime you saw the Lisbon line photographs, he was always part of the photographs. He always had the blazer on with everybody else, any touring that they did, John was always there. So it was good that the club did that, and obviously the players themselves who kept him involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And strangely enough, it just prompted, as we finished, Roughie, I wonder if you can tell me how many players in that Celtic side that won the Cup in 1967, as I looked at three of them who are still alive, which is, of course, Willie Wallace, Bobby Lennox and Jim Craig, it is a group of people that will never, ever be forgotten by Celtic fans and quite a lot of Scottish historians and people who love the game, because they did indeed, under Jock Stein, play the beautiful game. I wonder if you could tell me how many players were over 24 and how many were under 24. There's a wee shout.
No, I'd be having a big guess at that one.
Yeah.
Under 24?
Yeah.
I'll go over because I'll start with Ronnie Simpson.
Right. Go. How many
Ronnie
over
Simpson over.
Yeah.
How many in the team on the 11?
Just give me a number.
A number over. I would say 4.
Right. 5 players are over 24. That's not a bad shout, Roughie. And the other 6 are 24 and under. And the amazing thing about that side, I always remember we had, your old boss in Bertie, when he was talking with Jim Craig in alongside him one day with Archie McPherson. I always remember him saying to me, Bertie all said, the greatest thing about that Celtic side, he said, is there was 3 world-class players in it. And I looked at him and I remember, in fact, the day he said that to us, we were sitting on the old brown couches, you remember them? And I thought to myself, wow, 3 world-class players in a team that won the European Cup. And he quoted Jimmy Johnston, Bobby Murdoch and Tommy Gemmell. And I looked and I thought to myself, I wonder what age they were in that final. Jimmy Johnston was 22.
Wow.
Bobby Murdoch was also 22. And Tommy Gemmell was 23. Think about that.
I know.
And the thing about it is, when he said Gemmell was world class, Tommy Gemmell was a 6'2" left back. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it?
And the other,
scored goals.
But the other thing as well is Wee Jinky at 22, did you say?
Yeah.
Was getting picked to play in rest of the world teams.
Yeah, with Willie Henderson.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They were that good that they were getting into the rest of Europe, rest of whatever, and they played. And anybody, I mean, we've met a lot of the guys and that. Not only were they great footballers, they were characters. Anybody that came into touch with Billy McNeil, Wee Bertie, Jinky, Bobby Murdoch, Wee Lemon, they all had an aura about them, not on the park but off the park.
Yeah.
If you ever went into their company, it was very jovial.
I'll leave you with this thought, Roughie, which is slightly emotional, but obviously I think it sticks in my mind. Being a journalist and being lucky to interview people, I did a feature called Celtic Legends on television, which basically gave me the opportunity to interview every Lisbon line. And my mother, who'd followed them all over Europe, said to me, the Lisbon Lions, she used to tell me that they were really nice people, they were down to earth, she loved them, she said they were great. And about 2 weeks before she died, I was sitting on the bed and I remember saying to her, Mum, I remember you telling me the Lisbon Lions were down to earth and they were great. And I said, you were absolutely right, but maybe you underestimated it. They were even better than that. And that kind of sums it up. John Fallon, one of a great group of players, but they were a special bunch, as you said. They were a great laugh.
Yeah, I thought they were. We could sit here I could tell Bertie stories for half an hour, I'll tell you just one briefly. Tony Higgins, who played with Partick Thistle at the time, Bertie was the manager, and Tony was having an absolute stinker. After the game, we came in and Bertie did his usual ranting and raving, and he came to Tony Higgins and said, son, and Bertie always had his European Cup medal on, and he pulled out his medal and he said to Tony Higgins, you'll never ever get one of them. And Tony Higgins' reply was, I'm never going to get one at Partick Thistle, am I? Bertie always had a line, he always had something, and even when we played, we would play Airdrie at Broomfield, the old park, and you had to walk the walk of death. He would just walk about, giving that all the way down.
For a noise up, because I always remember that little cottage thing, you remember at the corner? Brilliant, absolutely. Again, like John Fallon, Bertie Auld, gone but almost certainly never forgotten. Hope you enjoyed a few tales with us, hope you enjoyed the football chat. Great to talk about some of those great players that played in Italy. Good luck to Lennon Miller. The Jambos, are they the real deal? And for those of a certain vintage, when you think about the Lisbon Lions, this week especially when they bury another one of the squad, a lot of people will still be looking back with those grainy pictures at that day in Lisbon. It's a football channel. We love talking about football. I think we even get Peter McCloy in the Girvan Lighthouse. We talk football. We love all our teams. We try and give you as many memories, and of course, we want you to get involved as well. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you want additional exclusive content and chances to win prizes, which are going to become all too apparent to you this week, if you want to win some great prizes as well, then why not subscribe to PLZ Premium and give us the chance to support you even more and give you even more content. We've got a great bunch bringing you managers, players, previews and post-match reaction as well, and lots of stuff that you'll enjoy 7 days a week. Wherever you are, we are. Thanks for watching the football show today from Roughie and myself. Have a good day.